Hello, welcome to the 30 Years War presentation. This is ECD's next episode, and today we talk about another religious war that happened from 1618 to 1648. This war lasted 30 years, as the name suggests, and yeah, let's get into it. So let's provide a little bit of background. This was basically a war between the Calvinists and the Catholics. As the war went on, however, more secular nationalistic ambitions were more important. This is seen when France joins the war. This is technically seen as a larger conflict between the Habsburg dynasties of Spain, Bourbon dynasties of France, and the Holy Roman Empire from 1609 to 1659. Despite the Peace of Augsburg, religious tension was still alive in Germany, right? There were two different factions. There was the Calvinists and the Catholics. The Calvinists were led by, I guess, Frederick IV, who led the Protestant Union and the Protestant League. The Catholics were led by Duke Maximilian, who organized the Catholic German states and created the Catholic League of German states. Um, so yeah, but essentially another big thing is that this was also a conflict between the Habsburg emperors and princes. The princes were typically more Protestant, whereas the emperors were Catholic. So a good amount of background. Let's go on to the first phase of the war. So the first phase is the Bohemian Phase. So people involved in this were the Catholic Ferdinand, who was the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire at this time. There was the Duke of Bavaria, who helped Ferdinand during this war. There was a Catholic League that also helped Ferdinand, and there's Frederick V and the Bohemian nobles. These were the Protestants that were against Ferdinand. So now Bohemian nobles were very unhappy with Ferdinand because they were Catholics, and Ferdinand wanted to recatholicize them. Ferdinand didn't want Frederick V to win an election because the Holy Roman Empire would turn more Protestant than it already was. So the first really the start of the war would probably be when Protestants in protest threw a bunch of Catholic nobles out of a window. They survived because I think they landed on manure, if I'm correct. But this just hid intentions. I think this was called the defenestration of Prague, if I may be mistaken. But so there were a couple of there was a big event, a big battle fought. This was the Battle of White Mountain. This was in November 8th, 1620, where Ferdinand and his crew beats up Frederick and his forces. So now what does this do? This gives Ferdinand now has to leave the Holy Roman Empire and goes to the United Provinces. This basically means that they have lost the war. The Catholics win this round. Ultimately, the Catholics are not going to win this war. This is going to go to the Protestants. But for the Bohemian phase, they're gonna win this war. They're gonna win. They're gonna win the Bohemian phase of this war. Another big thing that happened was that once King Ferdinand was able to win this, he declared Bohemia as a Habsburg territory and confiscated any Protestant church and declared Catholicism as the sole religion for Bohemia. I think I missed the Denmark phase. Oh, give me a sec. Okay, so the Danish phase. So now the Danish phase was fought by Christian IV of Denmark, Wallenstein, or Frederick's new wealthy imperial commander, and Count Tilly, who led the Catholic League. So Christian, the king of Denmark, was anti-Habsburg and anti-Christian, and he wanted some of the Catholic territories in northern Germany for his family. So this is kind of a little bit more political, right? Because he wants more land. In 1626, Count Tilly leads the Catholic League to beat Christian IV. And 1627, General Wallenstein backs this up by beating Christian even worse. So now in 1629, this is also going to be a win for the Catholics. In 1629, Ferdinand issues the Edict of Restitution. Basically, what this means is that it states that Calvinist worship was prohibited and the Catholic Church was restored. It also said that Protestant property in the past 70 years was restored to the Catholic Church. So basically, no more Calvinism. Yeah, Denmark's a loser. Okay, now the Swedish phase. So in this phase, Gustavus Adolphus, Ferdinand Wallenstein were all part of the, were all involved in this battle. This was another battle of religion because Gustavus was a devout Lutheran who wanted to help the Protestants in Germany. So the first battle was the Battle of Lutzen in 1632, and this was actually a win for the Swedish forces because they beat Wallenstein's army. However, and this is a big thing, Gustavus Adolphus dies in this battle, and because Gustavus Adolphus dies in this battle, things are going to change for the Swedish forces in this phase. 1634, Ferdinand feels kind of attacked by the amount of power Wallenstein gets. So he orders a hit on Wallenstein, as the meme shows. But this is actually really bad because Wallenstein was a really good general, and he won a bunch of battles for them. And this is actually going to come back and haunt him later. So, but in 1634, Ferdinand's force was actually able to get another win and bounced back to keep the southern Germany Catholic. This ended because he annulled the Edict of Restitution because he wanted peace with the German princes. However, this peace did not work out, so on the war went. So the Franco-Swedish phase. So in this phase, so the Swedes were still fighting, but this time the Catholic French also get involved, and the Catholic Habsburg are also involved. So now this was also fought because of religion, but a lot of it was also politics. One big battle. So let me just say this first: the Catholic French were actually are actually fighting for the Protestants. This is where the political part of the 30 Years' War actually goes into play. France, despite being Catholic, actually fights the Catholics instead of fighting the Protestants because they want more power. They fought for secular and dynastic reasons, and they eventually will win this phase and ultimately win the 30 Years' War. And you're gonna see that this win is gonna turn into this win is gonna more or less lead to the age of I think Henry, where Louis the 13th. So this is gonna lead directly. Well, this is gonna lead to that where France is like the country to beat. But let's talk about this phase. So in 1643, France beat Spain and also ends Spain's military greatness. So they kind of destroy them. They continued winning against imperial armies in southern Germany. Then, so this basically just means that they were losing the Holy Roman Empire. The Habsburgs were losing. So they issued the Peace of Westphalia, which technically ended the war. The Peace of Pyrenees would later come, and this would resolve any dispute between the French and the Spanish. So now, what did this happen? The Spanish get demoted, while the French get promoted. So I told you guys that when France gets promoted, they basically become the most prominent nation in Europe. And this dominance is going to be seen when Louis the 14th comes in and starts running things. Louis the 14th, I'm just going to say it now. There's going to be another video on this, but Louis the 14th is going to be the person that brings in the idea of divine rights of kings and absolutism, and that's a whole nother video to talk about. But yeah, so the French win this one, and it's gonna be big for them coming up, okay? And the Spanish lose. I think that's it. I normally put some answers from previous videos on this video, but I'm just gonna decide to do this on a blog so that we keep these videos shorter. So on the description, you'll find a link to the video, link to my blog, where I'll be putting in the questions and I'll be also putting in the answers for that. Okay. Other than that, thank you. If you have any questions, put in the comments if you guys are watching this. Thanks.